Okay, well, we're back today and we're going to be doing a video on support rogues in Celtic Heroes. And this is going to be a much more in depth kind of guide into the roles of Dex rogues and how they kind of function and what your purpose is within a raid. Um, this video is definitely going to be much more like tailored towards end game kind of content, where I know most of my content before has kind of been more like middle end game or like even some started content. This is going to be like a first true end game kind of build video, and this is the class that I play. I've played Rogue since I started Celtic Heroes in 2013 or 2012, 2013, and yeah, there's a lot to kind of go over, and I enjoy this kind of build because I believe that it has a lot more depth to it outside of like the normal strength builds that are in it. Our hot swaps are more complex. We have a better array of skills that we can choose and run and situationally use, and there's just more gear available for us to use. So generally, though, with a support rogue, your main role, the two main skills that you're going to be focused on, is going to be the supportive debuffing of the boss through the skills Expose Weakness and Smoke Bomb. Expose Weakness is a skill that reduces the target's evasions. This is going to help your tank land its taunts more often. It's going to help DPS land all of their abilities, just increasing the consistency of your group's DPS. If you're doing anything with freeze or bash strategies, have bosses such as Gelebron or Dio, then it's going to make those a lot more consistent as well. Smoke Bomb is a reduction in defense of the target, which is going to help all of your normal basic attacks land more consistently. Both of these are considered crucial debuffs in the game. So similar category to like mages with their lures, or it's just something that you always want to have at a raid. It's not always like necessary because you can always just punch through things in this game if you're overpowered enough, but it does help out. So for our core gear, we're going to be looking to get our exposed weakness primarily between like a 3500 to a 3750. Right now in the game, 3750 is considered to be the floor for Dexterity, for all dex based builds. If you're not able to hit that number, it's not really, it's still valuable to have those debuffs, but it's not really worth to like commit an entire player to that because you're not zeroing out the resistances or the not the evasions. But that's 3750 again. That's only at the Dio rate, which we will cover later, as every boss has their own different evasion numbers or defense numbers, and we want to be able to change and flex our build to whatever is needed at each individual raid. So all of our gear is going to basically be focused on what is going to give us cunning and what is going to give us dexterity. So the best sources of that right now in the game are going to be Living Flesh Rings or Skulls Rings dropped by Necromancer, Leech Braces dropped by the new boss Mannequin. Of course, if you do not have those or your guild isn't killing them, you can always get the Dex Braces, the Argent Cores from the Argent Core Braces from Proteus, or you can get Deadly Ambush Braces from Gelebron. Unfortunately, outside of those variants, like there's not really much else that you can that's really worth running, almost at any point in the game. But and then for necklaces, the best in slot is going to be the Shadows Amulet dropped by Dio, but you can also use Bloodleaf pendants from Bloodthorn as well, and those are perfectly good too. For misks, right now it's going to be Mannequin or Bloodthorn misks. Kind of just the two main misks that everyone uses these days. So that's about it for like the core gear. For our primary skills, these are like the core skills that you are always going to be running as a Dex rogue. Um, Quick Strike and Shadow Strike are your two main DPS sources. Uh, Not much, just standard DPS skills. You got your two debuff skills, and then you got Sneak Attack. Sneak Attack's just really good. It always hits high base damage. It's always going to be a DPS gain, even if you're not in the full strength builds. It's just a good skill all around to run. Beneath that, we have some other flex options where you can run for like fast reflexes. You can run lifesteal, poison weapons, rend, or double attack. For quick strike, again, the main stuff that you're going to be swapping with that for swap gear is you're going to want a cooldown brace. If not, you can use like an Imperial or a Godly Morty brace. That's fine. It's is a pretty significant DPS loss, but it's fine. Like it's not the end of the world if you don't have a cooldown brace. Um, you can use mannequin misks are the new meta right now. Of course, if you do not have those, then Bloodthorn misks are perfectly fine. They're good to use, and you're going to want to swap a Gelebron ring with it. You want to get those skill points from somewhere, and the direct damage is really good. Shadow Strike. This is going to be your next best skill. You're going to want to again swap mannequin misks with that. Dio braces, they're overpowered. Use them, and then you're going to use a Bloodleaf ring with that. Usually this with the subtlety rings, yeah, the subtlety Bloodleaf rings. If you have it, you can hot swap the cooldown ring from the Valley of the Ancients that just came out. The Hasted Blight, again, Hasted Blight rings. For the cooldown, really strong. Ideally, when you want that though, as a Dex rogue, you want that to be tier 2 or tier 3, and then that's going to replace one of your Living Flesh rings as a perm slot. DPS builds, I know they've dropped running the subtlety band, and they just hot swap the cooldown ring now. But just as a Dex variant, it is better to keep swapping the subtlety band and just perm the cooldown ring. Other stuff you can run with this, if you don't have like a subtlety band, Renegade Rings of the Ridge from the monoliths are still the next best option behind that. So yeah. For exposed weakness, because this is a skill that we want to min max, I don't swap much for points for this skill. Outside of the one poisoner brace, so we have the Dex misks. We run a poisoner brace with that. Keep in mind the poisoner brace does need to be tier 2 or tier 3 to really be worth running. If not, use a deadly ambush brace from Gelebron. And then you would swap a living flesh ring with this. And that's fine. After that, we have Smoke Bomb with similar story as with Exposed Weakness. We really just want to have maximum dexterity with that. Just really optimize for that stat. And in the back, and we have with that, you could do the Deadly Ambush bracelets, or you can do an Ingenuity bracelet with that. And if you need the points, or if you need the just like the raw dexterity and skills. For Sneak Attack, again, just strength all the way. Just the same story as the other skills that we've seen before. But you really want to cool down the skill. The Dio brace is very important for this. Just day and night difference. The longer the cooldown of the skill, generally the more important and the more valuable cooldown reduction is going to be on its cooldown. After that, we're going to have, for our flex skills, we have fast reflex, we have lifesteal, poison weapons, rend, and double attack. I have there all the situations that you would run those, like fast reflex, good for solo setups, good if you're just generally lixing, or just all in all, it's a good skill outside of raids. For lifesteal, this is a skill that if you're going to be running it, you need to have the cooldown reduction on it. Usually you're getting that through a Bloodleaf ring from Bloodthorn, and then you have the pair it with a Mordred's ring or Mordred's brace, and then you do a Spiderweb charm. This comes from the Spider Legacy bosses, but it's good for solo content. It's good for Lixing, just in general. It's a pretty good skill. You can even use it at raids. It is slightly DPS positive at raids, so if you have the points, use it over something like Assassinate, or have even use it over poison weapons. Next, we have poison weapons. Poison weapons, it's just a generally pretty good skill. You're gonna, again, it's really only used for Lixing raids. It's in a weird spot as an ability where recasting it before you would get the full duration out of the skill is a DPS loss. But it's, as rogues, we don't really have too much else to run, honestly. So, but it's fine. Like, you can always run it. Rend, you're gonna run the Rend direct damage ring from Valley, along with the cooldown brace, or not the cooldown, the Dio brace, and just a misc. This skill isn't supported very well by any gear for direct damage or much for effects. So it's just an all-around good Lixing skill for just a small bit of DPS if you're adding this. This skill is definitely used way more often by like strength builds. It's much better in those setups, but yeah. Then lastly, we have double attack. Double attack is really only used when we have. It's not like a DPS positive skill. It really just kind of smooths out your damage per second. It makes it more consistent by letting you land your auto attacks. But the swaps here are a bit more intense. Mannequin brace or sacrifice of the banished or apostate. We got this. We got the strength misc, and then we have a Valley direct damage ring. So those are going to be like primarily what you're going to see when you're swapping that. Here's an example picture of all my stats that I have. Again, you just want to aim all dexterity. When you get to that point, it's just dump all dex, which is. And then here's examples of my gear and everything that I run. So yeah, I'm gonna go over for pet options. Seedling is always going to be the best. Doesn't matter what element you go with. Just stacking seedlings is very powerful, and so generally want to do it. After that, you got the Mastiff and the Eagle. Eagle helps with more evasion reduction. That will allow you to kind of flex around in your build more. You could maybe run a couple more DPS kind of options or pieces of gear. Maybe run that CG offhand instead because of using the shot dagger. You know, just kind of lets you be more flexible and still hit those minimum stat requirements. The Mastiff is going to reduce defense. That's going to be really good at other bosses like Mannequin or Mordred's or Proteus, or really kind of, or even like Gelebron, maybe. Like wherever you're just stacking a high amount of auto attackers, that is just where they're going to be really good, because we can't zero out defense as consistently as you can with evasions. It's just going to be, it's just more valuable. And then lastly, if you really want, or if you just want a basic pet that gives you a small dex bonus and you can't afford a seedling, then Spider is going to be the next best option. But generally, I've never seen anyone actually run that or use that, but it is a thing if maybe, you feel you need to. For mounts, it's the Nightmare Health Steeds are the best mounts in the game, kind of hands down. Nothing really compares to them. And then outside of that, Wolf is going to be the next best with the dexterity bonuses that's going to give you. Let's see. So we were talking about the baseline for evasions earlier on different bosses. So I have those all posted right here. For Dio, it is 3750. For Bloodthorn, it is 3375. Gelebron 3375, and Prot is 3300. And for Prot, that's both for the base and the prime variants. Yeah, just kind of so. Well, when we say 3750 is kind of like the floor that you want to be at. As you can see on other raids, if you're not at those raids, you can always afford to maybe switch out some gear, mix it up a little, run something else that, and maybe not fully hit that 3750, or you could maybe even mix it up, maybe go like a full dex build and along with something like an eagle, or just to focus even more on evasion reduction. Just be aware of what your expose is at, what your smoke bomb is at, what the numbers of those boss are, and why you're doing what you're doing. So, like at Dio raids, we do freeze strats where we freeze both the troll and Dio to stop invigorations, where I run a frost staff, drop my weapons, and then I run an eagle with and the I lose dexterity and points in the evasions for running for loot or for not running daggers. I still get I'm still able to hit invigorations with the freeze staff, and I'm able to still hit and the eagle still lets me hit the 3750 minimum. In fact, it goes well above it because of how strong the evasion reduction is on that, and it helps, I guess, a little bit more with the movement attack evasion. But we're trying to freeze the boss and prevent it from healing, so it's worth it. Here I have a kind of setup put together for if you're kind of like the floor, looking for like a starting dexterity rogue setup. Unfortunately, you do need dodge gull just to kind of hit those stat thresholds that you really want to be hitting. Um, let's see. It's kind of hard to get the value from that if you don't have it, but it's kind of a lot of the same what we talked before. The Hexforged Dagger of Shadows. You Dio, yeah, the Dio daggers are going to be the best. You can always use a Gelebron dagger if you don't have that. You can also use the Necro Decay daggers. Those are from Necro. Those are really good. And for jewelry, just anything, again, Fluid Flesh rings, anything that gives cunning and dexterity, basic charms and necklaces, anything really that kind of just gives that. But this is what, if you want to hit that 3750 kind of floor, this setup right here will get you to that. And so at 4580 dexterity, and then I don't have the exact numbers there, but this is kind of going to get you to that. You can expose at Dio kind of minimum. Anyway, I hope that people have found this helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to leave them below and I'll try to answer them. And yeah, we'll see everyone later. Peace.